Alright, I wasn't planning to do this, but I will anyway. There's a Honda 600 Coupe, and the Honda 600 Coupe had two different keys, and then one had the cutout on the right side, and the other one had the cutout on the left side, and they don't intermix. Now this one was sent to me by a customer, and this one looks really nice, and I luckily he didn't have the other one. That's not lucky. That's not the lucky part. The lucky part is these other locks I have. The key goes in, but there's no wafers in the gas cap lock, which is what this little short one is. So any key will turn it as long as it goes in there. So you can see any key, but not this key because it's got the cutout on the wrong side. And that's mine and his, although I do have a giant bag full of these things. So I'll have to go out my shipping container tomorrow and get one. And replace one of those. So I'm going to show how to rekey a lock. Hopefully I can rekey it to match his key, because his lock's really nice and the key works. But the key does not work, his hatch lock. So hopefully I've got another hatch lock that's in good shape that I can make work with his key. Otherwise, I got to find 3 or 4 working cylinders that these keys will fit, and these locks got to be all the same. They got to be the same right there. I can't ship them out. And the hatch lock, it's really a pain to get it apart. And the reason why is this pin here doesn't go all the way through. So you either have to drill a hole next to the pin and then pry the pin out, or get lucky and drill a hole all the way through from this side so you can push that pin out, and then the cylinder will come apart. This piece actually slides right out of there. So that's the way those come apart. Not easily. Alright, so the way this come apart is take a screwdriver and you take off the snap ring. You don't let the snap ring fly across the room. Then you want to look at the tailpiece to see if it's oriented left or right. This one looks like it doesn't make a difference. And these locks are stamped left and right. There's an R on this one. Believe me, there's an R. Okay, and the other one he sent me is an L. So then all you got to do then is there's a keeper wafer right here. And you push the keeper wafer down. Then you can push the whole cylinder out. And sometimes it helps if you got a key. If you stick a key in there when you're pushing it out, because that helps the wafers to line up. Sometimes you got to pull the key back a little bit too when you're taking it out, but don't take it all the way out, because what happens is these are spring-loaded wafers in here, and they'll actually just fall out when you're taking it apart. Or if you do, then make sure you hold your fingers on them so they don't fall out. See that? Lost it. I got more. Don't worry. That was the keeper wafer. So now it's on the floor somewhere. Anyway, well, that's okay. I got more of them over here in this box marked Coupe. It's this giant thing right here. They're a lot bigger than the wafers, so that's it. I'll find it later when I move in 20 years. Alright, so here's how the key works. The cuts in the key correspond with the length of the wafer. And when you put the key in, when all the wafers are flush to the top, that's when it's able to turn, but not before. And even if they hang up just a little bit, like the only one that's lined up right now is the fourth wafer down, and that fifth wafer is actually bent. So that one's got to come out and get straightened or replaced, and the first three and the last one also need to get replaced. So I got all the wafers out. It's got 6 little baby springs. You probably can't see them, but they're over there. And that heavier duty one is the one that's the keeper wafer. And what I want to do is now take this cap off, the chrome cap, and then it's got a spring-loaded shutter in there. So when you push the key in, it gets out of the way. You can see the spring in it. And then I made a tool that goes in here and it straightens this out. It's the exact same size. And just hammer it down so it's flush. And I might even put it on the buffer and buff it. Yeah, the good news is I found the keeper wafer on the floor. Alright, so here's what's inside. So I got the cap loose. You gotta be careful, or you'll lose the next piece here, and that's the spring-loaded shutter. Look how tiny that stuff is. So that's what happens when you put the key in. So I'm going to take that out of there. That's tiny stuff. Everything's tiny in these things. And I've already cleaned up the body a little bit on the wire brush. And what I'm going to do now is use that tool I made and straighten this piece out here. And then clean it up a little bit better so it looks like the other one. Alright, so I got it all apart. I straightened it out. I put it back together. I stuck the tiny little spring in my finger. It hurt like heck. Anyway, so now the process is going to be normally read the key. Now these things aren't numbered, and here's the bent one. But I got a bunch of extra wafers, so this is going to work. I'll show you what I get done in a minute here. Alright, I was able to rekey this whole thing except for that slot right there. I don't have a wafer to fit in there. I even tried all my Honda modern car kits and everything, and I can't find one. I'd have to take apart a bunch of more cylinders to do it. But so what happens is when you put the key in, they're all flush on the bottom here, and I'm just holding the keeper wafer from blowing out like it did already. And then you just take it and stuff it all back in there. You'll push down the keeper wafer. Alright, so I got it back together. But to get it back together, I had to use what we call locksmith shim. So I had to set this on top of the, of course it wasn't all this mangled before I took it, used it, but it was all flat. And I set it on top of the keeper wafer and slid it in because there's a ridge on the inside of this. And of course it won't focus. There it is. So you got to put the shim on top of the keeper wafer and then shove it all in together. So this one's back together, functional. And you just got to put the tailpiece back on it. I cleaned it up. Snap ring back on. Since I don't know which way it goes in the car, he might have to take it off and turn it around 180 degrees when he gets it back. I can look at the other one and see which way it's facing. So right next to the L, there's a key index right there, and that is pointed toward the key index. So this one be the same. You just put the snap ring on it. Get some bigger pliers. There. This one works perfect. It's marked as new old stock. This one's a little bit clicky. but it'll be okay. So that's how you key locks.